What's up, fellas? In the first video of the day, we're going to be talking about something that I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be talking about, today and over the next couple of days, and that is the schedule that the NBA implemented for this season. The play-in game, which we talked about briefly yesterday, and that video did way better than I thought it was going to do, by the way. Thank you for that. And just kind of, everything about the league this year. Did they make the correct decision? Are they playing too many games? Is a play-in tournament stuff a mistake? Is it ultimately causing significant injuries or just a significant quantity of injuries to some of the league's biggest players? And that's what we're going to be talking about in the first video of the day. And then the second video later, we'll talk specifically about what the Jamal Murray injury means for Denver. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day on this channel, so it's a great place for the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If you're new here, by the way, what's up? My name is Tucker. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials in a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's go ahead and talk about the NBA season as a whole, kind of everything that's happening with, the start to the season. So this conversation was kind of already had, right? In the offseason, when it became clear the NBA was going to kind of have to come up with a new plan. And that plan got expedited very, very quickly. It was unlikely that we were going to be starting in December, and then within a span of a few days, we were starting in December. And obviously there's a lot of agendas behind that, and there's a lot of reasons for why the league started when they did, why they played the 72 games, and primarily it's financially motivated, right? Obviously, they made some calculation and they decided that this is the best thing for them money-wise, while also not having an overly negative impact on either the health of the players, the long-term, the longevity of players' careers. They're not just going to blatantly do something that they have, looked into and researched and have found is going to be something hugely negative for their players. So they tried to balance that out with making a significant amount of money, which of course is something that the league is going to care about, especially given what is happening in the world right now, right? And like I said, we kind of already had that conversation. And now with the injury to Jamal Murray, who from a basketball perspective, we'll talk about specifically in the second video of the day, but with the injury to him, in addition to someone like Jonathan Isaac in the bubble, a handful of other guys. I think there's like 5 guys right now that are out for the season due to a torn ACL, in addition to Anthony Davis missing significant time, LeBron James missing significant time, John Morant missed significant time at the beginning of the year. There's just a lot of guys kind of, missing time here. And I think that this conversation is picking up for 2 reasons. One, the Jamal Murray injury is arguably the most impactful injury of the season to this point, just given that he's out for the year, given that was a team that was playing incredibly well, looked to be contenders this season, and that's going to spark a conversation about the injury stuff. And then the second part of it is we had so many postponements in the beginning of the year because of protocols and things like that now teams are having to make up games in the second half of the year, and we're having teams play like 7 games in 11 nights with multiple back-to-backs within that stretch, right? And so this is going to be a very real conversation for a lot of people. And I debated whether or not to even make this video because I don't want to sit here and pretend like I have any kind of medical expertise, right? That this is not something that I can speak to on an expert level, although I don't think that's necessarily the case with any of my videos, but it's more so about having the conversation and does what people are saying make sense, right? On one hand, the NBA is a business, correct? And they are going to do what they need to do to make sure that that business is profitable and it's healthy. And ultimately they decided that this season and the way that it's gone about has been the best way for them to do that while not outwardly and intentionally harming the health and the long-term health of their players, right? Having said that, it's pretty clear that this wasn't an ideal scenario from a player health standpoint. That was never the goal of the league, but it's pretty clear that that is not the case. And even someone like Mark Cuban, who has recently come out and said, yeah, we unanimously voted as owners on the play-in tournament and on the 72-game schedule, and I was a part of that, and currently I feel bad, and I feel like it was a mistake. Now, that comes on the heels of someone like Luka coming out and having negative comments to say about the play-in tournament as a whole, and this is a Mavs team that is going to probably play in the play-in tournament as the likely 7th seed in the West, so there's a bit of bias there. But it's odd to have an owner come out and openly say that, and openly say, yeah, I think we made a mistake here. And so there's arguments on both sides. But ultimately, what really struck me, and kind of speaking to that lack of medical expertise thing I was talking about, was a tweet from, I'm just going to call him Brian. I'm going to mess up how to say his last name. It's the guy that does all the medical stuff, does a lot of NBA stuff. I'm sure you guys know who it is. I'll pull up his tweet on screen here. And this was honestly the best way that I'd seen it explained. And I'm paraphrasing here, but you guys can see the tweet on screen. Essentially, you can talk about the medical aspects of it. You can talk about the physical aspects of it. You can talk about, hey, what is the threshold at which 72 games in a certain amount of time is too much, right? But ultimately, what it comes down to is the only people that really know if it's too much or not is the guys that are going through it, the players, and to a certain extent, the coaches as well. If you want to talk about, kind of the mental and the emotional aspect of it from a physical standpoint, the only people that can really answer that are the players. And if players are speaking out and saying, hey, this is too much, our bodies cannot handle this, then that's the only answer you need. You can try and pull out studies and research and all these different kinds of things and say, hey, this is the threshold. When you play 72 games in a 5-6 month span, whatever the case may be, that's too much. 72 games in 8 months, that's fine. But in 6 months, it's too much. You can say all that. But if the players are the ones coming out saying this is too much, then that's the only answer you need, right? And so ultimately, I don't even think that the conversation should be, well, Jamal Murray just tore his ACL, so now they're playing too many games, right? Because I don't think that that's a direct correlation, because people will continue to bring up like the ACL injury stuff, right? And again, no medical expertise nor background here. People continue to bring up the ACL stuff, right? They're like, there's already 5 guys out for the season right now due to ACL injuries. Typically, there's 2 or 3 in a given year, okay? With injuries that generally are seen as like freak accident injuries, the Jamal Murray thing, like it's incredibly unfortunate, but it's kind of on the same level as like the Gordon Hayward ankle injury from a couple years ago. Like it's a freak, crazy injury. And I don't necessarily know that there's a direct correlation between that and overall fatigue and having to play too many games in too short of a time span. Now, if you want to make the case about that as it relates to just the quantity of injuries throughout the league, lower body stuff, hamstring stuff, ankle stuff, okay, I think that argument makes sense. But to instigate the conversation with Jamal Murray tore his ACL, we're playing too many games, I don't think that makes sense. Having said that, my official stance on this would be, yes, they're probably playing too many games. The league probably knew coming into the season that it was not the ideal scenario for player health, and that is why they relaxed a lot of their rules as it relates to player rest, as it relates to, guys just taking days off. They relaxed a lot of their rules because they were telling these teams, hey, just so you know, if your guys feel like they need an opportunity to take a break, they're going to have more of an opportunity to do that this year without consequence than they ever have in the past. So at the end of the day, here's where I land. If you want to say that this was a mistake by the NBA to play 72 games in as short of a time span and to play the play-in tournament and such a quick turnaround, all those things, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. And I would be inclined to agree with you on certain aspects of that argument, right? However, I don't think it makes sense to instigate and initiate that argument and that conversation by saying, hey, Jamal Murray tore his ACL, now we're playing too many games. Either we were playing too many games before because of the overall quantity of the injuries, or we weren't. The Jamal Murray injury does not represent the switch that has suddenly been flipped here. Whereas if Jamal Murray did not injure himself the way that he did, suddenly we're not playing too many games, right? Ultimately, the NBA makes business decisions all the time. Every professional sports league in the world makes business decisions all the time, and it might not be ideal for the health of the players. That was clear at the time that this decision was made. And ultimately, obviously, the league made some kind of calculation that they were okay with that and they were fine with that. And that doesn't make it okay, but it does make it the reality of the situation. So ultimately, yes, they're probably playing too many games in too short of a time span. They put the responsibility of understanding what was too much onto the teams more than they did on themselves by relaxing some of the rules on when guys could or could not rest. And ultimately, yeah, there probably are going to be more injuries than there should be this season. But the league is going to do what they always do. And what they do is prioritize, I'm trying to think of the correct way to phrase this, prioritize their interests while also publicly making it seem like they're prioritizing the interests of the players. And that's not that it's disingenuous and that they're not prioritizing the interests of the players, but the main agenda is always going to be the business aspect of the league at the end of the day, because they know that these guys are incredibly well compensated and that ultimately, they're going to play basketball because they're being paid a lot of money and they have a great life and they have a great job, and ultimately they're going to prioritize the health of the league, and they're going to allow the other things, the other benefits of being a professional basketball player in the NBA, being compensated as well as they are, to make up for some of the negative things that come with the NBA being a business. That's what they do, right? If you want to criticize them for that, I think that's absolutely fair. I would just be careful about how you begin the argument. There are going to be multiple conversations and articles and videos and things like that over the next couple of days talking about how the NBA made a massive mistake because Jamal Murray tore his ACL. I think that's the incorrect way to start the argument, but I think the general point that you would get to at the end of it would be 72 plus playing games in this short amount of time is probably too much. That case was made at the beginning of the year, and it's still the case whether Jamal Murray tore his ACL or not. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the first video of the day, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Stark. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. If you guys want to check out more videos from me as well, you can check out the channel as a whole. You can leave a like rating if you enjoy it, and you can check me out at various socials and a Linktree link down in the description below. With all those things said, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this whole situation. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all next time.